Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Newtopia, a field guide to 2022 with Vicki Ostram. Today, you are listening using your computer speaker system by default. You'll have the opportunity to submit questions to Vicki by typing them into the questions pane on the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time. We will collect these and address them during the Q&A session at the end. Vicki Ostram is a futurist and trend editor for SanMar, a leader in the promotional products industry, and for trenddependent.com, an independent research lab. With nearly 25 years in design and forecasting, Vicki excels in identifying critical social movements that become trends populating the marketplace of ideas and products we see all around us. I will now hand this over to Vicki.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you guys. Ida and I have been working on this for 2 years now, so we finally made it happen. I am going to go ahead and share my screen. And okay, so let me move a couple of controls around here. Well, I have some pretty pictures to start your day out with today, you guys. I do 2 trend presentations a year for SanMar, and this is my spring presentation that I put together. And I have a couple of slides at the end where, after I'm done with the actual presentation, that are showing some retail images that I've grabbed since completing this trend presentation that kind of support what I'm going to go through with you guys. And I always love to do that myself, where I see things in real life, you know, happening according to the trends that I've been seeing and talking to you guys about. So I'll go through those just real quickly at the end. But let's just get started here. This is something that I called Newtopia, and it's not a word that you probably have heard before, but it may be something that this is something that you have heard, which is utopia. And if you're like me, especially as the pandemic kind of went on, I kept in media hearing this word utopia come up over and over again. And so I had to sort of refresh myself as to where that came from. I knew I had studied it in school. And so in case you're wondering, let's just review really quick. It's a well-known book, even though it was published way back in 1516. And it was written by Sir Thomas More. And in it, he created this imaginary world where everything was perfect. And we're not going to get into the weeds today on how not perfect his utopia actually was. I mean, there's books written about that, but the spirit of his idea that a world could be created that's better than the one that exists still resonates. And in fact, we're so intrigued with this idea that we're collectively rewriting utopia with the needs of today as the key story driver. And we're taking a page from the most trend-right designers of our time and engaging in an of-the-moment collab with Sir Thomas More. We're taking his utopian world and we're going to do a remix with our very real world of 2022 in hopes to become, if not perfect, at least a really great work in progress. And the name of our collab is Newtopia. So here's documentation of our work in progress. These are field guides which identify the reality and the aspirations of the Newtopia that we're building. We're going to look at what we're wearing now in our smart guides, and then we're going to check out some of the new choices that we have as the world is changing in our fresh choice guide. So we'll start right now by digging into our volume 1, our smart guide, which we're going to identify the smart wardrobes, what they are, what kind of colors, fabrics, and shapes we're really interested in right now. So smart wardrobes are defined by elevated basics. So what does this mean? You know, what's going on that we feel this need to adjust our wardrobes? Transitional styles that have versatility across home, work, and play create a smart wardrobe, as hybrid lifestyles give rise to situations where our roles are fluid and often change rapidly. And I know if you're like me, you know, we've definitely had a sense of things just changing on a dime in our lives in the last few years. So we've had to kind of roll with it. And the building blocks of these smart wardrobes are a category of styles called elevated basics, which can be described as core basics that take on elevated status through upgraded fabrics and trims, promoting their wardrobe placement from practical to party and really just everything in between. And before I go on, I wanted to familiarize you with a key element that you're going to see on every page of our field guides, and that's right up here in the upper right corner. It's a color palette. And actually, when you break it down, there's 3 palettes here, and each translate loosely to an outfit. And the colors are balanced as to how they would play out in that outfit. And I'm doing this to show you something new that's happening with color lately. I mean, none of these colors that you're seeing are new to you. You know, we know all these colors. It's just that the way that they're being put together is a little bit different from the past. And the changes aren't radical, but they're just something to pay attention to. And I'm going to show you what I mean as we go along here. Here's our first example that I wanted to show you, which is monochrome. Minimal is not boring. And this is because of some of the really beautiful things that are happening in the way of details. The details of our clothing have become little luxuries in our lives. And there's a quote in the middle of the page here from a boutique brand by H&M that's called "And Other Stories," which caters to millennial working women. And they really understand that there's a trend toward this more minimal way of dressing. And if it's not a brand that you guys follow, definitely check them out. Just "And Other Stories." They do a really good job of expressing what different stories are around the products that they're showing you, and visually it's just a really expressive website. So I always like to look at it because it's just very simple ways that they bring ways of styling yourself together. So they defined this for their customer base in a brand activation called "In a Monochrome Mood." And they said there's a timeless appeal to the graphic impact of monochrome dressing. Make it yours with textures. And what that looks like in fabrics today at first glance might not look like much, but these are the subtle details that are creating our new ideal of what a luxury is. Because just like in technology, where the luxury lies in how much you don't see. You know, for example, most of the time with headsets, you're using a Bluetooth headset anymore and you don't see the cord because, it's Bluetooth. But, this is what defines luxury now. It's incredibly powerful technology, yet it's minimal. But we would never say that it's boring. And the same thing is happening in fabrics. We have minimal, but certainly not boring surfaces. And, think about these things that are trending right now. For example, we have a tactile toothy piqué. We have that piqué that's like Polo Ralph Lauren back in the 90s that was so toothy. It was practically like, you could just touch the tactileness so much. So that kind of piqué is back again. It's very, tactile. We've got a pillowy quilted puffy. So, every season it seems like there's more and more puffies that are out there, and, they're very sculptural. They're very tactile. We have the peak and valley rib of a sweater knit. So, whether it's a sweater or just a circular rib knit, you definitely have this rib texture coming into play more and more in the last 2 seasons because ribs are tactile. We have the coarsely ground salt and pepper marl of a sweater. So even if sometimes the surface itself isn't tactile, it can look tactile because of the way the pattern is created. So it gives you a little bit of a toothy look to it. Or a lightly hammered crepe even of a blouse. So all that to say is, why do we want to switch to these more simple wardrobes? Well, we want them because the world is chaotic and it's unpredictable. And as a balm, we're really craving these simple styles that mix and match with ease. We're seeking calm. We want versatile, adaptable, and easy. And neutrals are at least one solution to this need. And one place that we find the most beautiful neutrals is in nature. Nature is elemental. We've spent a lot of time outside in the past 2 years. We've been hiking, we've been playing, we've been meeting our friends. And now we want to wear the colors of nature on our own bodies. You know, we've come to appreciate how nature's colors have a grounded and a timeless appeal. I mean, look at some of the colors that are trending right now that come from the natural world. You know, we've got the starry night of blacks. We've got all the varieties of yellow that are trending. When you think about marigolds, you know, they have a lot of different yellows in them. We've got the hot oranges of nasturtium that are popular. We've got the greens of moss and leaves. I mean, no matter what generation you are, there's a green that's trending right now to satisfy what you like. So greens are huge. The beautiful blues of sky and blues, the rich blues of lakes, you know, the mineral grays of and blacks of flint and obsidian. So, you know, the utility of these colors is as timeless as nature itself. And utility as a function also speaks to that versatility and adaptability that we just talked about as the why for our choices to wear simpler styles. And one of the key styles that's come out as important in the past year is the SHACKET. I mean, every brand has this style, whether it's a juniors brand like Free People or a luxury brand like Xenia, you are going to find this style. And it's probably not just going to be, you know, in the mix, it's probably going to be their hero style that they're pulling out to show you. So, you know, you got a company like Free People for juniors, and they may have a Sherpa version. And then Xenia, which is a more luxury men's brand, might have it as a technical wool. So the SHACKET, as you can see here on this model, is part shirt, part jacket, adding up to a new type of layer that's spotlighting a macro trend toward elevating utility and workwear basics to everyday wear. So utility can be dressy, as you can see with the way that he's styled. Easy plus dressy can coexist, but we don't want to mistake easy for sloppy. In fact, this way of dressing is actually more dressed up than we've looked in a decade. A market analysis on tops for spring summer 22 advised, consider sartorial shirts and oversized woven styles that evoke nonchalant ease as key drivers for the season, as consumers are seeking dressed up attire for everyday life. And this category of product is called smartened up separates, which are part of that smart wardrobe that's made of the elevated basics that we were just talking about. And the model that is shown on this page here just shows you another example of what this can look like. And in regards to color usage, for spring summer 22, reports are saying, in a volatile landscape, balance your color range to promote versatility and practicality, while also providing reassurance and much needed uplift. And that a post-COVID-19 world will see the revival of travel, optimism, and creativity. So expect color to reflect this mood. So this report too is leaning into this idea that monochrome and neutrals, which can include colors from nature, are investment colors. They're practical and they're versatile. And yet we also need that uplift. You know, we need those dopamine brights, the saturated colors that are even veering into neons at times, even if they're just used in small doses, like maybe a beanie. It could be a bright, optimistic pop that's grounded by the reassurance of a monochrome palette. And this avatar that I've drawn here is shown as an example of how quiet colors can work with loud colors. You know, they can work alone and they can also work together. You know, one palette of quiet colors that are unique to our Newtopia is this last line of color that you can see here, which are mineral pastels. These are calming colors which are timeless. They're classics that have been reworked and they've become something new. They're pastels with a wellness undertone. They're dusted, they're mineralized, and they're softened colors. They really echo the well-washed vintage clothing that so many young consumers value. I mean, the resale market is just a massive market that's growing exponentially each year. And those pieces that you buy from there often are, you know, pre-loved. They've been washed, the color's been knocked down a little bit. When forecasting color for women's apparel in 22, WGSN Trend Service said, in a post-pandemic world, color will need to work hard to uplift and reassure a risk-averse consumer who will be looking for longevity and versatility in product. And this isn't just for women's apparel in particular. On a report on Outdoors Intelligence, it was also advised to keep colorways minimal and classic. They said black and neutral colors had lower than average markdowns and higher than average out of stocks in the outdoor wear in the UK and in the US. And I just thought that was interesting that, they noted that classic colors were selling in the UK and in the US, because to me, it just proves that these reassuring neutrals are something that we're really gravitating to globally. I mean, the pandemic, climate change, all of these things are things that we are coming together on globally as, a people. So these classic colors are really resonating around the world. And reworked classics are proving to be worthy investments. We can see what this idea of a reworked classic looks like on this page. It could be a nostalgic shape in an updated color, like the cropped sweatshirts that you can see here. They're reminiscent of the crops from the 1990s, which is a decade that's proven to be a significant trend with Gen Zs and millennials alike. And yet they also have an overall aesthetic of today. There's a quiet and a modern look to them. They're simple and they're minimal. There's not a lot of fuss to them. There's not a lot of extra trims and, or color changes. It's just one monochrome color, and it just adds to the simplicity to it. Reworked classics are key styles with reinvented signature elements that bring a fresh perspective and therefore a reason to buy. So there's waterproof rain shells at the left of the page here that have an extended and protective collar. And I don't know if you've noticed, but every season since the pandemic hit, and this was already happening before the pandemic, collars were getting higher and higher on especially outerwear. And now it's just even more so. It's just a kind of a protective thing. We've got the four-way stretch jacket and anorak that have arrows pointing to them too, that allow the wearer to move with extreme ease. And that's another thing that people are really looking for. Maybe you have a jacket in your closet already, but it doesn't have as much stretch as you now are accustomed to wanting to have. We're really not willing to not be comfortable in our clothing anymore. Or a quilted bomber, like you can see down at the bottom corner here. It's not heavy, but it feels protective in a way that just feels comforting right now. And it also speaks to that utility and workwear trend that we just talked about. And each of these, item features set them apart from items from the past. They function better for the world that we live in now and who we are today. Because we really are looking for these special features. They provide a reason to buy and a reason to add something new to this smart wardrobe that we're building. Because we really are a more discerning consumer than we were even as recently as 2020. We have new needs in this changed world, so we're being really thoughtful as we navigate our Newtopia. There are many fresh choices before us, and that leads us to our choice guide. One of the biggest categories of product that we're being really choosy about lately is bags. We are increasingly prioritizing multi-purpose and practicality as key measures when deciding what new functionality that we need. And in a collection review on bags, it was noted, we are anticipating a revival for spring summer 22, with the performance of bags already starting to make a strong comeback. And the focus will swing to business casual styles, aligning with the shift towards hybrid working patterns. They said, nodding to travel optimism and the practical needs of the future commuter, the weekender makes a notable return. And you can see what that shape is there on the bottom corner. Enhance this item's functional design with waterproof materials and storage compartments. And they said, confirmed at retail as a must-have item, the backpack has enjoyed steady success. They noted, continue to prioritize modular design with detachable straps and inner and outer compartments, style with smaller accessories for add-on opportunities. And that makes a lot of sense when you think about it, because we're looking for ways to reclaim control in a world that's still feeling pretty out of control. So smaller bags are becoming really popular. We might not be able to fix everything in the world, but we can at least control our cords and our chargers and our hand sanitizer, all the many dongles that we have for, technology. And it may seem kind of trite to say that, but honestly, it really is a thing. These smaller bags are definitely having a moment, and a lot of brands are introducing some of these smaller pieces, which either can be sold, well, they're sold alone generally as a separate piece, but a lot of times they're even built to be attachable inside of another bigger bag so that you not only have a smaller piece, but it can also integrate into a bigger piece, which is, like they say, good for add-on opportunities for sales, but also good on their own too. And I also wanted to point out something new here, which is proportion. The backpacks that you can see highlighted here are designed with a smaller body in mind. And there's a fluidity to these, they can work for many people. They're versatile in that way because, backpacks especially are designed for maximum capacity, which is great. That's what they're for. But that doesn't always translate well to every body to have this huge backpack that you're wearing. So these pieces were designed not for a woman per se, but just for a bit of a smaller proportion for someone who has a smaller frame. And that's really great because, like I say, it has a fluidity. It fits more people. And versatility is just what it means. It's a lot of things. For example, it's also been reported that the versatility of the tote bag is highlighted across major trade shows. They said key updates included oversized profiles and multi-straps, nodding to the flexible lifestyle of the future commuter. So here, the oversized proportion is what's new in tote bags because that's the trend and it speaks to the specific function of a tote. And you can see two versions that I have highlighted here on this page, and they both have incredible versatility in the way that you can use them, how you hold them, how you wear them. So like you can grab them from the top, you can sling it over your shoulder. They both have features that you can quickly turn it into a backpack if you want. You can open them from the top, you can open them from the side. One of them has a magnetic top that can quickly open, but there's also a zipper under it. So, there's just a lot of ways that each of us, because of our hybrid lifestyles, whether we're going into work some, working from home some, maybe we're even working in different parts of our home at different times of day and actually using a bag to commute ourselves around our house. There's just kind of some new and unique ways that we are needing to carry supplies and things around with us. So these versions here, just have incredible versatility, and that's what we're looking for because our lives are really all over the map right now. Another choice that we're clearly making in our Newtopia is for sustainable solutions to the world's problems. So back to this idea of control, control is a big theme in trend right now. There's a lot going on with weather globally. I don't have to tell you guys this, better than almost any continent. What's going on with weather, and it's a lot to deal with, and we don't always individually feel like it's something we can really get our mind around. So one very effective thing that we can do as businesses is to offer solutions for problems that we can control. So we can be proactive by advocating for change. According to the co-founder of New York City's Sustainable Fashion, sustainability is becoming the new normal as the fashion world includes environmental and other ethical issues into brand identity. In other words, eco-activism is going mainstream. So there's an elemental change afoot right now. In their Big Ideas fashion strategy for 2022, WGSN Trend Service noted, in a world underpinned by uncertainty and fear, there is an opportunity to create products that abate these feelings or that empower consumers to confront and overcome them. In 2022, designs will need to offer a sense of protection and reassurance. And this is the part that I thought was really helpful to understand. They said, and brands will need to understand where and how shoppers are seeking security. And I love that because that gives you something to do with that information. So one type of security is safety. Simple solutions to heat, for example, like long sleeves to protect us from the sun, hoods and hats are increasingly important. And another type of security is found in preventative solutions, such as seeking sustainable options in how we manufacture goods in the first place. So carbon-free is one of the many ways that companies are addressing these challenges. But just buying carbon offsets is not the whole answer. In fact, it's just parts of the puzzle, and they're really the last pieces that you put in place. First, the garments themselves have to go as far as they can to be developed using the best methods possible. Such as, for example, you could use recycled fibers in the garment itself. Another thing that people are doing as they're creating products is just an expansive way of thinking is, you can make products that are so efficient and tough that they don't wear out as fast, and therefore they stay in use longer. So this idea of circularity is really a big trend that we're going to see being talked about much more than we're even seeing the word sustainability coming into play. We're going to hear sustainability, regenerative, that kind of thing coming into play more and more. So these features, like, for example, stain release and anti-odor, reduce the amount of times that they need to be laundered, therefore saving water over the lifespan of that item. So all of that to say is, there's just many, many solutions and choices in our industry now, which is so great because it gives you a lot of things that you can offer to your customers so that they can be empowered as they participate in eco-activism themselves. And in fact, many young people are starting to make choices for their careers to go into fields that are related to the urgency that they feel every day around fixing things due to climate changes that they see happening. Gen Z is a huge generation, and they're also hopefully our next customers. So we don't want to assume that it's still business as usual. In fact, did you know that people under the age of 25, which is the Gen Z generation, they're between the ages of 9 and 24 roughly, they make up 41% of the world's population. And they wield $4 trillion in spending power globally. So, this is really, I just want to emphasize the global aspect of this. The Gen Z generation is a large segment of our global world. And in 2021, this generation was overwhelmingly worried about climate change. 76% of them said it was one of their biggest societal concerns. So as we think about how big this generation is and that they're going into eco-oriented fields, which have many outdoor labs that might take them outdoors, or, having gear for these endeavors is important. So just to kind of connect that trend idea to a product, for example, bucket hats have been a key item in streetwear fashion for a couple of years now. So the next iteration of a bucket that you might want to add to your merchandising group would be one that has UV protection, that has no fly zone to keep bugs away, that has moisture wicking sweatband to keep you cool. So anyone who has an on-campus store as a client, for example, might consider these specialized outdoor items, including even technical shirts with fabrics, for example, that wick and breathe and protect your arms and the back of your neck from sun, as much as you might consider a classic full zip hoodie or a beanie that you would have always put in a campus store. So, it's just kind of good to think expansively about the types of products that each generation might want now, because of the different things that they're doing. And in their sustainability and innovation report, WGSN talked about protective performance in particular. And they said, target light, packable fabrics for development, layering in all around comfort and performance to appeal to customers seeking protection on the go. They said market tougher, extreme protection outdoor wear as a worthwhile investment. And just as an aside, I just got done doing a really big macro trend report on what's coming up for spring 2024. And one of the key fabric trends is lightweight fabrics, nylons that are super lightweight, parachute fabrics. regenerative fabrics like Tencel, lyocell, that kind of thing. So these lightweight fabrics are definitely something that's going to continue to be important and even take up a bigger share of our product categories as time goes on. So since the Gen Z generation is so huge and therefore are the biggest population in our Newtopia, it's appropriate to end our field guides by looking to understand this generation just a little bit better. And one of the very best things about Gen Z is that they're a group who are inclusive. And another term that I came across that's even more accurate that I really think is cool is all-clusive. You know, everyone is welcome and part of the team in the Gen Z generation. They're diverse and they really defy generalization. Although image obsessed, they've also driven a shift towards a more inclusive visual culture, and they lead a push for retailers to increase offerings for plus size and differently abled consumers. And this generation is challenging many retailers to do more with their images in regards to showing a more diverse consumer set. And these are not complex ideas to the Gen Z generation. It's very simple, it's very straightforward. This is the way it should be. And in fact, this clear-eyed simplicity is also translating to the aesthetics of the product that they prefer. So less is more. You know, they're in many ways preferring to go back to basics when it comes to styling. WGSN called it supercharged simplicity, which kind of says it all right there. And some of the reasons that they noted really echo everything that we've just been talking about that other generations also prefer, which is great because that's what we're always looking for, is that perfect item, that, you know, one piece that Gen Z like, a millennials like, Xers like, boomers like, you know, that's really the sweet spot. So for example, here's one quote. They said, "It's well known that in uncertain times, people tend to go back to the concept of nostalgia and familiarity." And I know you've all noticed how much nostalgia is coming into marketing. And we just talked about reworked classics. You know, we love them because they're familiar to us in some way. Less is more. Remove unnecessary detail in favor of super basics. And this was a specific call out for activewear, but we also just talked about elevated basics in regards to our new smartened up separates that are making up these smart wardrobes that we're creating. And then finally, comfort and quality go hand in hand here, and core items become covetable new classics. And simple is classic when you think about it, and classic has longevity. I mean, who has a Letterman jacket or a bomber jacket or that perfect ringer that you had from a t-shirt when you were in high school, or wish you still had for resale value anyway? But that really comes back to this idea of no waste. You know, if you can keep that item in play longer so that it doesn't go to the landfill, that's a smart buy. So this is something that people are thinking more and more about before they even purchase a product, is what is the resale value? How long will this piece last and hold up so that I can get maximum use out of it, or someone can get maximum use out of it? So with our two field guides, the smart wardrobes and fresh choices, the key takeaways you can see here really have words that echo each other. We've got, you know, basics, minimal, utility, easy, classics, less is more. All of these ideas really go back to simplicity, because we're looking for solutions to the world's problems and for the new challenges that are before us in our everyday lives. And each step that we take in our Newtopia that we're building together, which is really our ultimate collab when you think about it, is led by what we hope are a collection of smart choices. So this is our More Perfect World remix, and we're really trying hard to get it right. I know that's what we're all doing in our own businesses and slogging away at it day by day. So let me just quickly show you a couple of cool things that really echo what I just showed you. And like I say, I really love seeing what's happening out there in the world. So for example, this is a company called Bandolier that sells a cover for your phone. In fact, I'm a huge fan. I have one myself. And they have different straps that you can buy for these covers. And this is where they were showing you, hey, we have 2 neon pops that we can bring to you. But look at what they've done. They've shown you the neon, but on a neutral, investment neutral type color of product that is her main outfit here. But then they also show you, hey, we also have a black strap for you. So you have versatility. And then when we're talking about that minimal is not boring, look at this is an all gray outfit head to toe, but there's 3 different grays and there's different textures. So they're bringing that textural element into play. And this is Tom Brady, who has a new line, and he of sportswear for men, activewear for men. And so he's showing you here, look at, this is a basic bomber in black, which we all know is very hard to show in a digital space. But he wants you to understand the luxury that are in the small details that you're going to enjoy as a customer. And so he's showing you these highlighted details in an up close picture so that you can really see these different textures that you're going to enjoy as the customer. And then this is his palette. Look at, it's all these investment neutrals, and even his pop is this, you know, a sky blue. And here's Tory Burch and the Gap showing you their dopamine brights, but look at what they're doing. They're wrapping them in these investment neutrals. So you have these calming colors, and then you have that energetic bright that they're showing you as well. And here's from the Olympics, you know, Lindsey Vonn was wearing head to toe, really bright color, that dopamine burst. And of course, it shows up so well in the digital screen. But then they also had commentators that were wearing head to toe ivory, you know, an investment neutral, but look at all this texture that they also incorporated. So again, minimal is not boring. And then here's Lindsay again on a different day wearing a mineral pastel, and she was wearing this head to toe as well. Here's a women's blog that's literally calling out dopamine boosting dresses. So they're even using that word dopamine. It's almost like color can be a medicine now. And then here's Tory Burch calling out a special color that she wants to show you, and she's calling it marigold. You know, this yellow in particular, she's calling marigold. So more and more you're seeing color names taking on these organic, plant-based, vegetal names, because we're really connecting it with nature. Here's Free People, which is, you know, Young Junior's line, calling out, hey, we have textured and tonal pieces. You're a natural, you know, so they're using the word natural and showing you these different textures and natural tones. And this is a company called Universal Standard, which is a really great company to follow if you don't already, that have they do a great job showing inclusive product in sizes. They've got 0 to like 32, I want to say. They show women of all ages, all races, differently abled people. And so it's just a great one to look at, that being done really well. And they're calling out, hey, this is natural beauty, you know, reminiscent of restorative moments spent in nature. Green is a color with healing power. Our tones nod to the natural world and offer a fresh start to another year. And then they tell you about why those greens are important. And here's that And Other Stories company we were talking about the joy of dressing up. So again, they're saying, hey, we are starting to get dressed up again. And they're showing you a head to toe green color, but it's a tone on tone print with, of course, a highly textured top. So, you know, of course, this is a little extreme and out there, but it just shows you that minimal does not have to be boring. Just because it's a one color outfit does not mean it's boring. And then again, here's Universal Standard, and in their verbiage for their marketing, they're saying fluid favorites. So this word fluid is important and more important each season as we're seeing more fluidity in people, and you know, what can work for a woman can also work for a man. The Gap, I know, for example, is starting to show in the same frame for, say, a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, even pants. They're showing a look on a girl and on a guy within the same frame, so that you can see, hey, this really is fluid. It works for both sexes. And they're even calling out here, hey, we've got things that you can pull yourself together within a pinch that's easy. So they're talking about easy as well. And then finally, you know, this is High Snobiety, which is a really great blog for looking at streetwear designs and really cool streetwear companies that young people love. And they're talking about a purpose-driven release. So again, they're speaking to that Gen Z generation. and to things that are important to them. So they're talking about some really big things that are important to them in the world, and everything from racial inequality to the climate, and they're showing also this utility piece that I was talking about, that workwear trend in garments as well. So they're really kind of coming to the Gen Z generation where they live and speaking to them in their own language. So those are some of those big ideas and that I wanted to bring to you, and hopefully there's some buzzwords and some different things that maybe you can use in some of your own marketing, or as you think about how you put together your own merchandising groups. So I will stop sharing here and just see if we don't have any questions yet today, which is fine. This is a lot of information coming at you.
Thank you, Vicki, for this fantastic presentation.
You're welcome. I'm so glad I could be here with you guys.
Look, over the coming days, our participants will receive a follow-up email for a link to view today's recording, along with the PowerPoint presentation and any other relevant information that you may like to share with our members. I will also include Vicki's email address as part of that email, should anyone like to contact you directly.
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions, or love to hear comments of things that you guys are doing in your own businesses. So
basically, that considering we don't have any questions, we might just wrap that up. So pretty
Sure.
much on behalf of Vicki and APPA, thank you to all our participants in joining us today, and I hope you all have a great afternoon.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.
Thanks again, Vicki.